May I now request our chief guest, Mr. Suresh Prabhakar Prabhu, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, to encourage our students through his address.
So, good morning, friends, all my young friends, the faculty members, and all others. Let me first of all thank Dr. Sandeep Marwa for conceptualizing something as vast, as good, as laudable as this, and starting the institution to impart quality education to tomorrow's leaders by training them today. So, let me sincerely congratulate him. And he has done not just this institution, he has also created film cities, and I'm sure he'll build more such new initiatives to make India a much better place than what it is today. So let me congratulate him. Also thank Mr. Srivastava as well as Mr. Sharma for being in this program. I know Dr. Sodhi is here, so I'm just thinking of doing something because he belongs to my family and fraternity, he being a cooperator, and I have been all my life a cooperator. I was the youngest ever chairman of the largest cooperative bank when I was 31. So I have got very good, and I'm just, because I never prepare a speech, I'll just speak something in relation to, because Dr. Sodhi is also here. So let me first of all, why I was congratulating Dr. Marwa, not just for starting an institution like this, but also for naming it as Asian, the name that is so important part of this institution. Because as you know, Asia is not just the most populous continent of the world. It is not just home to the most important religions of the world, all originated in Asia, all, more or less. Most important ones, the most popular ones. Asia will be the future of the world. People say this will be Asia's century. I would say probably beginning of never-ending expansion that will happen will be in Asia. But that's the future. But if you really look at the past, two largest economies of the world are always in Asia, more than contributing to 50% of the global GDP. So Asia has a size, that's the demography, the population. It has a culture, because one of the most developed civilization of the world are in Asia. It has the resilience because of the religious strength that it provides, because of large number of regions originated from this part, Asia. And it has history, it has future. So therefore, I also want to congratulate Dr. Marwa for calling it Asia School of Business. And I must congratulate all of you, my young friends, for choosing a right institution for pursuing your career. You'll be studying in a very professional institution, and I'm sure you'll receive a very quality education which will equip you to face tomorrow's world in a more effective manner. You are all enrolled yourself for management studies. If you really look at it, which you always know and you always mention, but to repeat it again, all challenges of the world are related to management. You create problem because you mismanage. You create a better world because you manage it better. And you manage it, sometimes micromanage it, creates a problem. But if you do management by exception, that's also a problem. Where to choose what is exception? So choosing and picking is also important about deciding management by exception. So all problems are created because of lack of management or could be solved with proper management. So now you have to choose as good management graduates that you will be eventually, whether you should be part of a problem or part of a solution. You can be part of a problem by mismanaging it, but I'm sure none of you will be that because you are studying in such a night school and you are such dedicated young boys and girls that you like to be part of a solution. The world always changes. And in fact, if you talk to any previous generation, I'm old man like unlike you are all young students. If I are talking to my previous generation, they will tell me their generation was better. And if you talk to me, I'll say, oh, my generation was far, far better. But the reality is, all generations have problems and all generations have good people and bad people. So generations always take pride in saying that we are better off than you. But reality of the matter is that all generations, the previous ones, create problems for the future generations, particularly in case of environment and other issues. You are seeing that previous generations have created problems which you have to now solve. So you will be told that the previous generations were better, but you must have that confidence in yourself that they may be better, but I will be best. There are always good qualities, good contributions made by all generations. But you'll have to have that confidence to get the best of them, but also pick what is bad and leave it out and try to progress by carrying the relay race of carrying the baton with the good things and leave the bad out. But in tomorrow's world, it's going to be a really a very different world. All worlds are different, but tomorrow's world particularly, because what we just had, and we still are in the midst of it, is this pandemic, which has put a lot of question marks about the way we are living life, social life, economic life, even cultural life. So it has even scientific way that we are thinking, all of that, there has been a serious question mark on them. The disruption that has been caused is not just temporary. It is going to make people think completely differently. And therefore, you have an advantage of knowing the old systems, old life, old way of living, and will also be faced with a different kind of challenge because you will be the first batch, first generation of young boys and girls who will be entering the new world. Every generation enters a new world, but they enter with little bit of small little changes, incremental changes. But you are entering a world with completely different kind of approaches and attitudes people will need to adopt to face this new world. Therefore, you have an advantage of knowing the challenges of past world as a strength of the past world, but will have no fallback option to know how do I deal with a particular situation because you'll be dealing with completely a new situation. So what will be your tools to deal with it? One is the self-confidence, which I said. But the second one will be to ability to think differently. Normally, a lawyer always relies on past case laws because Asian, this institute also runs a law school, right? Dr. Saab, you also run a law school. So they normally rely on case laws to deal with a situation and find out that the ratio of present matter before the court, whether that ratio can be applied to the previous decided case law, and they use the case law. So the lawyer's job becomes very simple. They just only search for the case laws in the past, apply them and put it before the bench, the judiciary, and they will obviously, if there's a highest court, Supreme Court has given a judgment, the lower courts will follow that. So this is how we deal with a situation going to the past. Find out how it was, a particular decision was made, how much particular situation was dealt with. You will have not such luxury. You'll have to deal with situation as it is emerging. The world is changing so fast. And it is not a continuity. It's another form of continuity in some way, but large quantum of discontinuity. So it's a different world. And therefore, the knowledge you will acquire here will help you in some form, but I'm sure the team led by Dr. Marwa, Mr. Sharma, Dr. Srivastava will all teach you not necessarily something that you can refer to in a book, but something you can use your own ideas to deal with a situation. That's something which you'll have to learn. It is like when you're playing on a field, whatever match you're playing, we are playing football or a baseball or a cricket or a tennis, whatever game you're playing, a guide, your coach teaches you something and he teaches you a lot. But still at the end of the day, when you're playing a game, you cannot just go to him and say, oh, how do I kick the ball now? How can I put it into the goal post? Or when there's a good bowler who is bowling at you, the batsman cannot run while the ball is being bowled and before he plays to his coach and ask him, now how do I deal with it? This seems like a different ball. It's a googly. You never taught me about googly. This seems to be a completely different. And he's bowling a Yorker, which I cannot play like this. Can you tell me if there's any time to do this? No. So the same way, the coach teaches him to play, but every ball he has to play on his own. Nadal, now his coach is Moya, former world number one. His coach was his own uncle. So Nadal won 13 French Opens, 20 titles, Grand Slams. So has Federer. Both of them have won. Both have coaches, fantastic coaches. But still, they win because of coaches, but not just because of coaches. They have something more. And that because everybody has a coach. So you'll have to be on your own and try to learn that ability to take your own decision. That will be very, very important to come on that. And I'm just saying the world that is changing and why it is so changing so much so is in the last several decades. We had some sort of a quietness. Like when you are sailing on the sea and going long distance, then the deck, the captain, and the engineers, they sometimes take it easy because they are passing through a very calm sea. There's nothing to do. They can take it easy and that they can go put in the auto mode and the ship is sailing. And then sometimes suddenly there is a disturbance. And then everybody has to be called and they have to work on it because this is no longer possible that it can go on alone. So last few decades have been the calmness of that sea we have experienced. World economy was growing in a particular level. things were happening as were expected to happen. These are the rules of game which were followed, and things were happening. The rules of the game were defined by global institutions, multilateral bodies like WTO, World Trade Organization. We defined, implemented, and everybody respected. It was smooth sailing to some extent, to great extent. Now enters the world where all these institutions are under threat as well. Some countries are saying WTO has become irrelevant. They want to do global trade, but on their own terms. It is like somebody saying, I will sell my products, I will decide the price, I will decide when to deliver, I will decide the quality, but you have no say into this. Can you ever make a transaction like this? There are counterparties. A buyer also has to have a say as much as the seller will have his own ideas and his own terms. So WTO is a body which decides on behalf of both. That's what helped the global economy to grow. And now suddenly you are seeing that that is also under threat. The other element which kept this calmness in the global economy was we had accepted globalization as a reality. Therefore, everybody was saying we have to go one way, that open up more and things will improve. That again is under threat. Even the largest economy of the world, which promoted capitalism aggressively and said we want to promote values of our own country, our own society globally. That's why sometimes they went for regime change. The USA is also now questioning the entire efficacy of globalization. I mean, many others are questioning, but I'm saying USA because they are the ones very aggressively promoting it. Third, the established global supply chains, which were the hallmark of global economy, are also under serious scrutiny. So what was taken as granted is changing so fast. For example, everybody knew that I have to make an iPhone, then I have, these are supply chains, everything. My marketing network is fixed. All of that is under some disruption. So the entire tenets of global trade and global economy is under serious change, also challenge, both change and challenge. And therefore, in that context, the management graduates will have to play a role into this, each of these. If you're studying, for example, you want to graduate in financial management as your part of your career, you want to specialize in that. The entire financial market is under turmoil. Getting money from what source is going to be another very important challenge. If you're into managing materials, purchases, you have to decide how do I buy, because suddenly there is going to be some duty. Suppose what is going to happen, how do I deal with that? If you're into supply chain management, that are again under threat. So all aspects of that are going to be changing so rapidly and so frequently. So we have to deal with all those situations very effectively. I had to go for some other program. That's why I actually kept 11:15 to 11:30 as a slot. And I was expecting that I have a very bad habit of coming on time. So I came sharp at 11:15, but I think there was some change. So I had to go for something. I'm not going to expand, but coming to, because Dr. Sodhi is here, let me come to that point. Why I was saying this. The another very interesting aspect of change is that, as I said, the globalization is under threat, supply chains are under threat. But what nobody can, hopefully, and logically can change is two things. One, all businesses will have to be more and more connected to local communities. For marketing, because that's the market. Large marketing will happen in the remote areas because that's where the growth will come from. but also for sourcing. The local communities will have to be part of a, we like to be part of a global supply chain, and that's how the governments of the world will have to bring in the growth. Because if local communities don't grow, the so-called inclusive growth will never happen. So they will have to be included into that. And that this is at the business level, but at broader policy level globally, the world will look like different dots, which are some are disconnected from the previous established system and waiting to be connected to the new emerging system. It is like galaxy wherein some part of galaxy, some stars or some elements of that get disconnected. So galaxy remains, but something got disconnected and they fall apart. World at broad level will be different dots which are disconnected from the previous ones and waiting to be connected to something else. So you will have to play the role of first understanding what is getting disconnected, and also your challenge will be how to connect these new dots which are emerging and the old dots which are already waiting to be connected. Now, where is Dr. Sodhi comes in, my dear friend and my colleague. What is our most successful business model in India is Amul. Why? Normally, sorry, I had to go, otherwise this was my very interesting topic for me to speak. Interestingly, the governments make business grow and government benefits from businesses growing because they pay and collect a lot of indirect taxes. Now, in case of GST, they'll collect so many other taxes. But corporates, when they grow, government can also collect corporate taxes, corporate income tax. Then the business growing, they create jobs. That also benefits the larger public good because job creation happens. In turn, everybody, because Amul has created, say, few thousand jobs, each of the job that you have created is going to add to economic activity. The person who has earned money is going to spend. But what is then different with Amul and the other businesses? The government has to earn money so that they can part of the money, they can put it back into social development, into rural development. Amul model is that the business itself serves a social cause. So they pay this money to the government is a different thing, which offers ability for the government to spend that collected money onto so many other essential infrastructure development or social development. But Amul collects milk from farmers. So first thing happens is that the farmer gets money at mainly her doorsteps, also his doorsteps. So first and foremost, farmer has got money even before the Amul pays taxes. So even before government collects money, the benefit of what government would have collected money and spent it back already has been integrated into the system. And Amul, so that is the first fundamental benefit that any government in the world will like to offer. The business model is integrated in such a way that automatically that benefit is first granted to the people and to those people who otherwise would have been left out. When I was young, when I was boy, not young, few months old, few years old, I used to drink a lot of milk. I don't drink milk. Sorry, Sodisa, I'm not your customer. I don't drink milk anymore. But you don't need a customer like me who doesn't have too much of in the pocket anyway. But my mother's struggle was when we used to live, I grew up in Mumbai, but my native place was Konkan, where from where I got elected 4 times to parliament. When my mother had to take me to my native place, her biggest challenge was to find who can give him that milk because there was no milk available. And from there, we have come to a stage today where there is so much of surplus milk in India that we have to convert into milk powder and we have to find a market for that milk powder. In fact, when I was the commerce minister, I had to dealing with that issue. I was trying to promote that, knowing that my farmers will benefit by because their product, their effort has gone into making milk powder. If you export it, they will also indirectly get benefit out of it. But that is not a point I'm saying. Where have we traveled from milk deficient country to milk surplus country because of cooperative organization. Amul is Khera district, but there are so many district cooperatives have come up, so many state cooperatives have come up. Dr. Kurian, a visionary, one of the greatest, I would think, is a Bharat Ratna candidate, who made this revolution possible. A very dear friend of mine, I worked with him and Mohan Dharia even for promoting cooperatives. And I used to come to Anand and even had spoken quite a few times at IRMA. And I would like to come again. So this is anytime you feel like. But what is a model? A globally competitive business, which Amul is completely rooted into the grassroots challenges of India. On quality parameter, nobody can beat them. Understanding, changing taste of people, they are the best. They make ice cream, they make Srikhand, they make cheese, they make all kinds of dairy products, value-added products, which is a problem in India. 30% of our fruits and vegetables get wasted. Here, all milk products is made into value-added products. So it's a food processing industry. It is not just collecting of milk, but food processing also. So what are all challenges that India is facing today in terms of rural development, economic integration, and making grassroots, village, remotest of the village to international connectivity? Amul is a shining example. So in the changing world, the dots I was talking about, Amul faced that challenge of connecting the dots of a different kind. And its success lies in the fact that made a straight line from the dots. And the line is infinite. You don't know where it starts and where it's going to end. I think all of you will have to take an inspiration from that. I am happy, Marwa, you are invited a distinguished person like Mr. Sodhi, Dr. Sodhi for this program. I'm very happy. Of course, he'll speak with authority better than me. But I'm just saying, my dear friends, in this gloomy atmosphere, everybody's saying, oh, business models are failing there. It is a successful model. We never faced a problem, even this crisis. Amazon is a different model where their share valuation went up during crisis. Amul is not a listed company because it's a cooperative. So, but Amul, in crisis, they are doing well. Even in good times, they are obviously doing well. So we have to develop business models of this kind, which will be globally competitive, but also grassroots related. This is what I'm sure my young friends will be doing it. And I'm very sure Mr. Srivastava Sharma will teach you that. Dr. Marwa will mentor you into that. And we'll continue to rise because Asia is the future. And let me tell you, India's economy has contracted, but will bounce back. India, I was saying Asia's different ideas. We have the history, we have the culture, we have the ability, we have the knowledge, we have the talent, and all the people are our real strength. So society is developed because of people, which we have in abundance, not in just in numbers. Numbers, of course, we are very large, but in terms of quality of people, we have everything. Look at Dr. Sori. He could be competing with any multinational anywhere in the world. And because they understand, because once you have the source where the milk made, now some of my young friends may think the milk is available in a grocery shop. So how do you get milk? Because the grocery shop must be doing it somewhere manufacturing. Because we don't know exactly how the milk comes from. Because you don't have to do all that, because all those supply chains are very well established. But because he knows the source where the milk is made, nobody can challenge him. You develop business models of that strong like this, strong foundation with great future. So thank you, my dear friends. I am already running out of my time. I came on time and I had to leave on time, but I'm already delayed, but doesn't matter. I've been here much, much longer than what I thought, but it was, of course, very enjoyable to be in the midst of young friends like you and with such a distinguished stalwarts who are in the program. So I don't belong to either of the category. I'm neither young, so I cannot be here for too long. I am not a stalwart, so I again cannot be here. So I think I'm sure
You're
the
great.
stalwarts will take over from him, and I'll thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. All the best, my friend. Be successful graduates and be great, successful professionals. Thank you very much.
Super.
Very
Wonderful.
much, sir. So Asian Education Group truly expresses its gratitude to our chief guest, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, for accepting our invitation and taking out precious time from his busy schedule to grace this orientation ceremony. As a gesture of appreciation on behalf of the Chairman AAG, Dr. Sandeep Parwa, and the Directors AAG, Dr. Lalit Devesh Srivastava, Mr. Saurabh Sharma, and Mr. Gurdeep Singh Raina, we would like to honor and present a memento to our chief guest, Mr. Suresh Prabhu. We shall ensure that this reaches our guest very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.